I don't even want to wait for Din to start singing. I'm going to, though. Charlie Skywalker in the chat. Gonna put this song on the Rebel Scum podcast soundtrack album, the PPS, the podcast picture soundtrack. Charlie getting the Monty Python out. This is Flying Casual, the Rebel Scum podcast live show. My name is James Razila. You're listening to F105 Desert Planet. Joining me once again this week is I'm just going to call him for what he is. The first person to ever say Ray Palpatine to me, and that was circa 2015. His name is Andrew Fantasia. He is joining me on the night's live stream. Andrew, what up?
Hey, I'll never forget that day. We were two fresh-faced youngsters. We were sitting in the food court at Square One Shopping Center in Mississauga, Ontario. And I think we had just finished rifling through the Disney store to see what Force Awakens stuff you could find. I think it was
absolutely, yeah.
And I was like, James, I really think that if you pay attention to my slideshow, you'll see why I think Palpatine's involved. And you were like, Andrew, I just want to go home to my wife. Please let me leave.
That's actually very, very true. Every word of that you said is true. Not a lie. Not a lie. I don't know if you remember my reaction to you when you said that to me, Mr. Fantasia. By the way, spoilers for The Rise of Skywalker, but if you can't tell, this is our full review of the sequel trilogy. As we look fresh on our mind, sequel trilogy. We'll revisit it in years to come. But you remember my reaction to when you first told me about Rey and Natasha Palpatine?
I actually don't.
Really? I
can't wait. I can't wait for you to remind me.
I mean, everybody that knows me knows that my memory is usually pretty good. Every once in a while, I slip up. And on trivia, I'm a disaster.
Oh, you're the disaster on trivia?
Gleek Play One Patreons. Gleek Play One wants you to post the slideshow. I would die for that. Anyway, so we were sitting in there, but I remember a lot, and I always remembered that because when we went into The Last Jedi, because if you remember, I always thought that Rey was filled with hate, right? Just like pure hate. And I was like, she's got anger and hate. And even after I watched it, I thought that. But I always thought that she was going to be a Skywalker or whatever, a Solo or whatever. And then you said that to me, and I was like, oh, no. I did not want that at all. I was like, no. And then when The Last Jedi was coming and we were in Orlando and we saw what was going on, I was like, oh, man, it's really started to feel like we were going in that direction. And then when I was sitting in The Last Jedi, the cave scene, I was like, oh, goodness, we're going to see CVP Palpatine. And we didn't. And I was like, okay. And then it was literally like a month before the movie came out when she had to be a Palpatine in my mind, just going into it based on everything I had seen and known. And so I always will hate you for that, Andrew.
You're welcome.
I got to say hi to D. Raven, to Lauren, to Heidi. Heidi wants the JJ cut. Jeff is here. Is this the official Babu Frick Scum podcast live stream? It is not.
Hello, everybody.
Brock will be doing that one on his own. Actually, you know what? Let's go into this JJ cut quickly because Brock and I have episode 148 of the main show is on right now. Wednesday, you'll get 149. We talk more about Palpatine and his return and how we kind of figured out, we're going to call it headcanon. But how and Brock, we kind of figured out how he came back because it's not obviously explained, which sometimes I think is fine. And sometimes, I find frustrating and annoying, but we do talk about that, but we don't talk about the JJ cut kind of on purpose. And the reason why I don't talk about the JJ cut, Andrew, as you know, you and I, we've made films before movies in the past. You cut things out of movies. Our movie that we did, our feature film that you and I did together was 3 hours and 45 minutes at one point. And I said, this is way too long. And it is now under 2 hours. I'm not going to compare that to Star Wars because it's much better. Although, wasn't our first day of shooting that the first day of Force Awakens?
Our first day of shooting out there?
No, but it was. Yeah, because there's like a side by side joke, I think.
It was no. Our first day of shooting out there was in April 2014. So
okay, so that movie is probably already shooting. We're not gonna talk discourse though, but what I want to ask you, Andrew, and this is the direction I want to take this now, because I don't want to be like, I want the JJ cut, I want this cut, I want that. I want to know, because look, the original trilogy came out in 77, 80, 83. We're all happy with those. And then 77, George Lucas was like, aha, special effects. We have these special effects. And he did these things called the special editions. And then in 2000, like, what was it? 8, 9, 10, 11, whatever it was. 3D Phantom Menace came out. And you know, at some point they changed Yoda in the Phantom Menace to CG Yoda. And they have made these changes. So I don't want to talk about, you know, this secret JJ edit or, you know, him, Disney, like screwing him over or anything like that. I want to talk about the possibility of sequel trilogy special editions coming out quickly before we get into like our main topics. Do you think we will see extended versions, possibly Disney Plus exclusives, maybe Blu-rays, whatever, of extended editions?
I like this question a lot. I really do. I think that Disney, you know, I'm not trying to bash them. Disney's done a lot of stuff I love, but I also think they are the epitome of the company that will squeeze you for every penny you have. So if there is an opportunity for them to come out in a year and be like, gosh, look at all these extended cuts we have for sale, they know we're going to eat it up. They know idiots like me who love movies that are longer than they need to be are going to eat them up. If they release a cut of The Rise of Skywalker that's like 48 seconds longer, I'll probably be interested in seeing it. I don't know if I'd spend money on 48 seconds, but you know me, I would just be all over. I'd want more. I still don't know why more movies haven't gone the Peter Jackson route and been like, okay, if the studios are going to be bossy and not let us, you know, give us room to breathe and make us shorten our movie, let's just release a bigger box set later down the road. Like, I still don't know why only Middle Earth movies have done that.
I don't know.
I think Star Wars movies, movies could really benefit.
But I mean, look, like Avengers, like, I don't know. I think that's like, I don't think there are many movies like Lord of the Rings that have that going for it.
No.
And I think I just watched The Irishman, and I'm still watching it. Like, some movies need to be shorter. Let's be honest. I just don't think there are a lot of movies that have that. Now, everything we're hearing about The Rise of Skywalker, and look, I've come on here, you and I have spoken, I could cut 10 minutes out of that movie, I think, and make it flow nicer than it is. Personally, that's what I think. Well, I won't get into that or anything. However, I also wish they would shut up, but they keep mentioning all of these, like, we did this scene, we did that scene, da-da-da-da. It's like, well, if you have it, and it can progress the story, and we are in this post-special edition world, why not do that? I mean, look, I hate to compare it to one of the greatest movies of all time, but Muppets Christmas Carol, when you bought the DVD, had like the VHS copy and then the theatrical copy of it on there. So why not? But the problem with that, of course, is the most annoying word in Star Wars, canon, right? Which one is canon?
Right. Yeah, that's very true. If it comes to that, you know, if they come out with a special edition or an extended cut, if I was on Story Group, I'd just be like, okay, world, these extra scenes are canon now. We wouldn't have added them if we didn't want them to be. Sometimes it's as simple as that. I mean, we talk about how canon can get in the way, but a lot of times it's really as simple as that. It's really as simple as, yeah, that guy with the beard was Rex. Why not? It doesn't destroy anything if he's Rex. So there's wiggle rooms around canon. There's wiggle rooms around all kinds of things like that. But you have this cut, supposedly, if it's real. You have this thing. It exists. In the Fox days, I don't know what they would have done, but in the Disney days, I think 100% they want to milk that. It all depends on what they're like, because what they have been doing, which is really weird, is they have been staunchly devoted to George Lucas's not ideas but ideals. They're like, okay, George, we don't want to touch your plot and all these things you had with like Kira and whatever, but if you said you wanted it to be a trilogy, we'll honor that and we'll just make it a trilogy. So when Chris Terrio steps forward and says, we have enough here to make this 2 movies, we have enough here to go to 10, and to give it room to breathe, we really should go to 10. The studio's like, nah, George said he wants a trilogy and we're going to honor that. It's a weird picking and choosing of what to honor. And in this case, I think they honored something that they really shouldn't have. Again, that's me being greedy, wanting an extra Star Wars movie out of the deal. But when a professional writer comes to you and says you have enough material for 2 movies, and then the response is, well, cram it into 1 and then cut it down to less than 2.5 hours. That sets my teeth on edge. That really, as much as I loved Rise of Skywalker and I'm happy with the movie I got, I can't help but think of the movie that could have been.
I think the biggest issue with all of it is these interviews that are coming out. And I just kind of said this in the chat, but these interviews that are coming out now, and to Jeff's point, why weren't we talking about this with the Phantom Menace? I think partially social media, and I think partially these interviews, they keep coming out, like you said, they're like, well, we have 3,000 hours of footage and there was this great scene that's not in the movie. And it's like, what? The movie's been out for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it's been now. Don't say that now. Say that when I buy the DVD in 10 months, like 6 months. But like, say it then. Don't say it now. Because now it's fresh in mind. I'm like, oh, I want to see that. Especially when there's the backlash. It's still making $1 billion, so it's not like this massive failure. It's not. It doesn't look like it's going to hit the 1.5 that I predicted. So I think we all need to go to the theater multiple times the next couple of weeks to get it to 1.5, just so that I can say I was correct on my prediction. It's still going to make over $1 billion, just a little bit less than Last Jedi, which I think the way the sequel trilogy has gone is fair. And I think Disney has learned this lesson from George Lucas, from the prequels, that it wasn't necessarily George Lucas that got people upset at Star Wars. It was Star Wars itself that did it. But it's these interviews where they keep coming out and they keep saying things. It's like nonstop. Like, man, somebody put a sock in it. Just put a sock in it. Let it go. Let us enjoy the movie. And then after we have enjoyed it, after we've eaten it up and we're like, oh, we're not getting another one for 2 years. They're like, guess what? We have all this extra footage. And you know what? Don't do a deleted. Don't do extras if you want. Just throw them as deleted scenes for it. I'll tell you what, Andrew. Those Rose Tico Leia scenes that they reportedly have shot that didn't work or whatever, the reason why she's not in the movie, if that's the actual case, they better put unfinished scenes of those on the DVD as extras. They better do that. Oh, yeah. Otherwise, I'm going to call BS on that statement.
Well, I think guaranteed that's going to be a featurette, like just how they did Leia, how they made her work. That's got to be a featurette. If it's not, it's like, what are you doing at the DVD factory? I don't know how DVDs are made. I assume it's a factory. But just like, to put a cap in the whole JJ cut thing. Not to beat this dead horse, but man, like just let movies breathe. Let them do and say what they have to say. I mean, you have that beautiful Jaws poster behind you. Jaws is an awesome movie. We all love Jaws. Imagine, who is it? Universal? Who did Jaws?
Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine if they told Spielberg, they're like, Steven, you got a great movie here, but we want to trim the fat. So that's scene where Roy Scheider hugs his kids, or when Richard Dreyfuss brings the wine. We got to cut that for time. Like,
well, movies nowadays don't even have those scenes.
Sure.
they cut those in the scripting stage.
Most of them don't. You're right.
Anyway, let's move on to the sequel trilogy that we got, because we have a sequel trilogy. And I know, and I've seen a lot of people like, what is the point of the sequel trilogy? And I just want to, And then now there are the reports coming out making Star Wars, I believe, was shocking that making Star Wars got a scoop. But the rumor is it's 400 years before the Skywalker saga, and they're going to delve into the High Republic era of Star Wars. And this is my thought. The one thing I think the sequel trilogy could have benefited from was when Kathleen Kennedy went up to J.J. Abrams to try to court J.J. Abrams into doing this movie. Do you remember the question that was asked was, don't you want to know what happened to Luke Skywalker? That was the big question. That's what they claimed was the big question to get him back. And I've been thinking about it. And as much as I like what we got, people have problems with this and that. And like I said, episode 149 coming out is about how Palpatine came back. And that's never really mentioned, right? It's kind of like, well, the dark side is dark and it's crazy. And then Mary from The Hobbit's like, yeah, no, that's crazy. There's clones and dark magic. And you're like, oh, okay, they're just gonna pass it on. And I was thinking, the question was, don't you want to know what happened to Luke Skywalker? And that whole Force Awakens movie is about getting to this mythological character named Luke Skywalker. They don't know, he's become this myth. He's so above reality. No one really knows who he is or understands him, and he's gone missing and no one knows where he is. And it's all about that. And I was thinking, and this is what I'm hoping with the new stuff kind of uses to lay the groundwork is, but what's the conflict? Why are you making new movies? What's the point of the new movies? It can't just be Luke Skywalker. I know what happens to Luke Skywalker. He saves the galaxy. He rescues, he turns his dad back to a good guy. He goes, hangs out with his sister who marries his best friend. They got droids. They're all good, right? Like, I don't know. That's satisfying. So what's the conflict? And I think when they go back and make new movies, they have to, like, if you look at the prequels, you could love or hate the prequels, but the one thing that's awesome in the prequels is Palpatine's plan. When you look back and you're like, oh, there's this conniving guy out there doing all of this. He's laying all this groundwork. And the original trilogy is just fun Darth Vader, being awesome. But he lays this groundwork. So I feel like the strength of these movies lies within the conflict within the villain. Figure that, it doesn't have to be a main character, but figure out that aspect of your story and then grow from there.
Yeah, I remember saying this a few times on the show before, but when we were first hearing, okay, Disney's making an episode 7, and we were all excited. We didn't know the name of the movie. We just knew there was going to be a 7, 8, and 9. We were pumped, and news started trickling out. And one of the first things I remember seeing is they said, hey guys, I want you to see this picture. Here is the new Stormtrooper, and they showed us what the First Order Stormtroopers looked like in their new armor and stuff, which I really like the First Order Stormtrooper armor. But I remember when I saw that, my very first thought, and I think I even posted on Facebook, I was like, like I was not expecting Stormtroopers in this movie. I didn't know what to expect, but I wasn't expecting Stormtroopers because I just assumed the Empire was gone. And I think that mentality is starting over. It's rebooting now with this new trilogy because I don't know what to expect. I hope they don't, show up with concept art in 4 months and be like, guys, this is a High Republic Stormtrooper. Don't do that. Like that, I'm in that same mindset now. I'm like, this could be anything. It might not even be a government versus another government like we've seen before. The wars involved in the title could be something totally different. In fact, I have some ideas I'll share with you all later down the line. But like, this is such a blank slate that I like diving into it's like diving into a pool of water, but the pool of water is pitch black. We don't know what's swimming in that pool. This isn't the bright, fun aquamarine, chlorine-filled pool that we used to. This is just darkness. And I like that a lot. I look forward to when we get that concept art and those images of our new soldiers or just random ancillary characters like we always get with these movies, and have them be nothing like what we've seen before.
Yeah, I'm excited. There's a lot of talk. We're going to do a roundtable. We're going to have a lot of fun talking about this. We're going to do a roundtable discussion with some friends on the channel soon talking about this. I do want to focus a little bit more on the sequel trilogy today, because this is where we are in Star Wars right now, is the sequel trilogy, and I love the Rise of Skywalker. I know there's a lot of friction towards it and people don't want to hear that, but I do, and I know you really enjoyed it. And I think when we were in the theater, I saw it, the 2 times I saw it in the theater, the reaction seemed very positive from the other people that were in there at the time. Especially the second time when I saw it in we were in the snooty theater the first time, the 19 plus, drink your wine and your bubbly and just watch the movie and smoke your cigars.
I'm still so upset that 3 saga movies in a row, and I didn't get a single audience that was hooting and
we had one, the Force Awakens, the first time I saw the opening night I saw that it did, but the 19 plus you don't typically get it because everybody's so snooty and they're like, oh, I've got my brandy, and they don't care.
There must be Gungans in this one, or I swear I shall not be pleased.
The second time I saw it though was in a typical theater, people of all ages. I think it was a 7 p.m. showing on a Saturday, so there was families there, and there was cheering and clapping, and people were having a genuinely fun time, which is absolutely what Star Wars is about. Sometimes, like I said on a tweet a little while ago, and I think I say on one of the podcasts, is sometimes we overthink it, especially people like you and I, where we talk on these podcasts and YouTube shows. We're overthinking it, and sometimes it's just good versus evil. That's really what it comes down to. So the sequel trilogy has come. We've had the prequels before. By the way, Attack of the Clones might be my favorite Star Wars film. And then we had the original trilogy. Right. Seriously, I watched it on the treadmill yesterday, and I was like, oh, I didn't want to stop. I was dying, but I was like, I don't want to finish this. So in looking at it as a whole now, have you had a chance to watch Force Awakens or Last Jedi since seeing Rise of Skywalker? And if so, has it impacted you at all?
Since seeing Rise of Skywalker, no. I watched them both in the weeks beforehand, but not since. No.
I watched The Last Jedi on Friday, and I watched The Force Awakens just before Rise of Skywalker, so it was cool to be fresh in my mind going in. I will say that when I left The Rise of Skywalker, both times I saw it in the theater, I left going, this could be the strongest of the trilogies, even though the original trilogy, let's be honest, will always be the strongest probably because it is the original trilogy. It's I do think, even though it's never the top of my list, I do think A New Hope is the strongest Star Wars film because it is the only one that is a complete film, really. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. Empire needs A New Hope to succeed. Does it? I think it does. But it needs Jedi. So I watched it, and then I will be honest with you, I watched Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, and I was like, gosh, I love the prequels so much. It's weird. I know everybody my age hates the prequels, but I love the prequels. And then when I heard about, this High Republic era, I'm like, oh my God, are they going to be closer to the prequels? It doesn't sound like they will be, but I as an individual, and you don't have to agree with me. No, you don't have to, Andrew, and nobody in the chat or anyone listening. I love the aesthetic of the prequels, but for me, this new trilogy is I think when it's all said and done, to me, it seemed very well crafted.
Well, let me ask you this: hindsight's 2020, right? So it's October 2012. You've just found out that this buyout happened. You've just found out you're getting 7, 8, and 9. Plus other things, but more importantly, you're getting 7, 8, and 9. 2012 James probably had an idea in his head of what 7, 8, and 9 could possibly be about, could possibly look like. There were probably a million things swirling through your brain. Did this trilogy now live up to those, exceed them? Did it fall short in certain places? How was this finished product compared to what 2012 James was imagining in his wildest dreams?
So I'm not gonna lie, I've talked with Brock about this on a main show a while ago. I didn't really have expectations for anything when they announced it. I was just like, I don't know what it was gonna be. I always, I guess, if anything, I assumed, which you should never do, that this would be about new characters and the old characters would kind of pass the baton, which they kind of did. Honest opinions from the first time from my very first viewing of all three of them. Like, I'll just be completely honest, and you guys can all give a thumb down and unsubscribe if you want after this. So, The Force Awakens, from beginning to end, I smiled throughout that entire movie. That whole day, I had a great time. Went to the theater. Erin was beside me. She's like, "You're an idiot. You haven't stopped smiling." I'm like, "I know. It's Star Wars. It feels like Star Wars." But I've talked to you about this. For me, The Force Awakens, as much as I enjoy that movie, is like a donut. Like, I love donuts. But, a minute later, I'm going to need something else. And I love it. I love the donut. And that's how The Force Awakens feels to me, is there's a lot of empty, sugary goodness in there. The Last Jedi. So when I went to go see The Last Jedi, we had been doing this podcast now for over like a year and a half at this point. And the one downfall, I guess, of doing it was that, and this is why we didn't do it this time, was you read the spoilers. I mean, we kind of stopped like we did this time, but we were still like picking away at them. And you talk to a lot of people about it, like, well, this is going to happen, this can happen. So when we went to Celebration, especially when we saw that first trailer and Luke is like, "Time for the Jedi to end," we were like, well, we know that. Like, I don't know if it's just because we were so like invested in Star Wars that we knew it, or if that was, so when I left the theater, I was like, it was pretty much what I was expecting. I was somewhat disappointed in that. I was somewhat disappointed in it because it was so close to what we had been talking about for like the month going on, and I was really hoping that they would flip the script, which is funny because when you hear people talk about it, what they like about it is that it flipped the script. But I think we kind of like before Rogue One came out, Brock was like, "Luke's gonna be crazy, and he's not gonna want red." Like, it was like right away we were on that train, and like a week before we were talking about killing Snoke and Phasma. Like, so it was kind of like you go the unpredictable route, and that's what it was for me. Was that it went so unpredictable that I found it predictable, but I loved it, and it made me look at The Force Awakens differently, which it was strong. And then you and I had a lot of talks about it, and we're like, you need the third one. You need 9. Like, you can't look at that one without 9. Like, Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. So then we get Rise of Skywalker, and after it ended, I was like, oh my God, this is my favorite Star Wars movie since Phantom Menace. Like, and everyone that knows me knows when I saw Phantom Menace, I was like, that was my favorite Star Wars movie. I still has that soft spot in my heart. And this one I genuinely loved. And it was exactly like we said, Andrew. It took me right back to Last Jedi, and I had to look at them side by side. And I don't know. I watched The Last Jedi a few months ago, and I loved it more than I ever did. And I watched it Friday, and I was like, and I really, especially with The Rise of Skywalker, which a lot of people say that The Rise of Skywalker undoes The Last Jedi. I think it enhances The Last Jedi, and I really loved it. And there's a part of me that thinks that Johnson and Abrams were on the same page for quite a lot. Anyway, I've been babbling, but those are my initial thoughts going out of each one was I loved it, but it was kind of empty calories. I love this one, but I need a glass of wine. And this one was like, oh my God, give me more gingerbread cookies. What about your thoughts?
Well, now you've just made me hungry. So thanks for that.
Oh, we got a super chat. But go first, then we'll go to the super chat so we can have time on this.
Okay. So like I said, there was no real expectation in my brain once I heard the news. All I knew, just from what I was told, was, okay, JJ's going to make it. And, Luke, Han, Leia, Chewie, and the droids will be back. That's it. That's all I knew. I didn't know we were getting stormtroopers until we saw the picture. So even that was like, I had no idea what was going to be the war. What's the point? What's the story? Nothing. And I think going into 7 without any expectations, I think it did me a service, because there was nothing really that movie did to disappoint me. I just had a blast from start to finish. And then, once I walked out of Force Awakens, then I could start being like, well, okay, we have 2 movies left. So I think that's when I start throwing ideas at the wall, like Rey Natasha Palpatine and stuff. And even like Rey Palpatine was really the only thing I was like, ooh, I hope we see this. Everything else, I was like, I don't know what we'll see. The only other thing actually was I was like, I just want to see Luke holding the green saber. That's
you got it.
And we do kind of get it. You really, you gotta work. You gotta work for it. Disney does not give up the green that easily. I still don't know why. I mean, I love the movie to pieces. It was my number one, but I still don't know why he had a blue saber at the Battle of Crete. There was no reason that saber couldn't have been green. There's, yeah, the expectations just weren't flooding me, and I know a lot of people had those. A lot of people set themselves up for things, and you're kind of the architect of your own suffering when you do that. Yes, it's fine to want things, but you kind of got to know where to draw the line. I remember when me and our mutual friend Robin, we went to, when you used to work at a TV station, we went in and we did like a little segment there and we taped it with you. And this was like a year out from Force Awakens. This was like the end of 2014, but we knew it was coming. And I remember when we were walking out, we were leaving the building, and I remember I turned to you because we were talking about it for like, we stood talking for like half an hour, and I was like, James, in a year we're gonna get a movie that's gonna have lightsabers in it, and you were like, I know, and we started like jumping up and down, and like that was it. Like we were just expecting a Star Wars, and we got it.
Mm-hmm.
Like what more is there to say?
Yeah, that's what the Force Awakens was, exactly that. And the one thing that the Force Awakens did, and I can't compare it to the Phantom Menace because I mean that's 20 years ago now. But it introduced a whole new group of people to the world. There's a whole new group of fans now love Star Wars because of the Force Awakens, and so. No matter what, I always take away from that. And look, I always say it's not my favorite Star Wars movie, but it was the most. Maybe Rise of Skywalker was up there. But I mean, like Aaron said, I smiled the entire time. Like I was enjoying every second of that movie. Just like I enjoy a sprinkled donut. Oh, man, a fresh donut. I made donuts on New Year's Eve. You made pizza.
That's right. And they were both amazing. The pizza was slightly better.
I had you in that kitchen. Aaron's like, James, stop making it. I'm like, he wants to do this. You let him make the pizza. I don't know if you wanted to, but thanks. It was good.
And I was just like, I'm helping.
Andrew, make a little square pizza, put the sauce on it. It was fun. I don't know. It takes me, how long? I was cooking the donuts for like 4 hours. It was like, oh, that's my crispelle that I make every Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. It took forever, but it was worth it in the end. Pizza was gone fast too. Enough about food. All right, I gotta get to the super chat. Jeff Wilson, our friend Jeff Wilson sends in the super chat, and I love this question, but I do not want to answer it. The director of the next movie is supposed to be announced this month. Who would your dream pick to lead this new direction? Now, I have to say I have heard, and maybe everybody else can back this up, but what I've been hearing now, reading, I think it's Making Star Wars is reporting everything. It kind of goes along the lines of what I was hoping for when they first announced 3 movies, and that is these could be 3 separate movies that eventually will lead into each other. So we'll just take this as one movie, the 2022 movie. Andrew, who would you like to see helm that film?
I also think this is a really good question, Jeff, for 2 reasons. Number one, because it's just a great question. It's fun to answer. And number 2, because it reminds me of like early days of Rebel Scum podcast. I'm talking like first time I was ever on it.
Yeah, this was our first one, right?
Table. Yeah. We were up in Brock's kitchen talking about it. And I remember going over like directors we'd like to see. And I think, there's so many answers. There's so many good answers. And everybody could say something that you don't think of and you go, oh, that's great. But the one I keep going back to is the Wachowskis. And the reason I go back to them is because everything that they have done outside of the Matrix, I still like the Matrix, but let's put the Matrix away for a second. So we got Cloud Atlas, we got Jupiter Ascending, and we got Speed Racer. Whether or not you like them, that's a story for another day. Personally, I think Speed Racer and Cloud Atlas are like 2 of the greatest movies I've ever seen in my life. But there's so much love and care and detail put into every single frame of those movies. There's a book in Cloud Atlas, and if you're familiar with Cloud Atlas, what the way it works is there's like different timelines and you keep popping ahead in time and stuff, and one character has like really funky hair, and then when you go into the future, there's a book that was like written that character started a religion, and the binding of the book is that character's hair. Like it's the detail's crazy, and this is all the Wachowskis who do it. I'm sure they have a talented set dresser too, but this is not necessarily coming from the set dresser's mind. This is coming from the Wachowskis saying, I'd like this and I'd like that. And they also don't make short movies. They let themselves breathe. So you get all that together. That sounds like every perfect Star Wars thing in the world. Please give me a Wachowski Star Wars, please.
This is a tough one to answer. Tough one. Because I feel like who I want now, especially more than ever, wouldn't be next in line. I would want Favreau and Deborah Chow. But they're doing Mandalorian and Obi-Wan. It just doesn't seem right. I think someone like... I don't watch movies. What movies do I watch anymore, Andrew? Give me some movies.
Do you like Matthew Vaughn? Because I think he'd be a great pick.
No, I don't want Matthew Vaughn. I would go... I'm shutting down Matthew Vaughn. Oh, wow. I'm going to go Patty Jenkins.
Take my donut and leave.
Patty Jenkins. She handles the action. I thought Chris Pine and Gal Gadot were amazing under her. And the thing is, she made it look like a Zack Snyder in the Zack Snyder world. And with Star Wars, I think that's important because your problem with Solo is it doesn't look like a Star Wars movie, and I think you need people that can work in the environment that they are handled. And I think Gal Gadot did a very good job in that, and I think she's to credit for it. What other movies have I watched, Andrew? Fantasia.
That's a really good point, though, man. Like, it looks like
Duffer Brothers.
Like it looks like Snyder could have made it.
Yeah,
it fits, even though it was, so different tonally from what was going on. It fits like it's part of the same universe. It is 100% there. Yeah, that's a great point. I never even thought of that.
Lawrence and Duffer Brothers. That's who I actually on our first show. I did say the Duffer Brothers. I think it was like our fourth podcast. I said the Duffer Brothers because again they understand the world, but I think they're so invested in Stranger Things right now, and the Netflix, Disney, that won't happen. I like Justin Lin and Anton Fuqua as well. I think they'd be good, but Justin Lin, I think I'm the only one that liked Star Trek 3, so probably not going to happen. But I don't.
Perfect. He's great.
I like it, but no one else did, and no one saw it. Give Tim Burton a turn with Star Wars. That'd be interesting. Johnny Depp, everyone's favorite Jedi. Helena Bonham Carter, everyone's favorite Sith Lord. Actually, that might be pretty cool. Now that I said it, I'm like,
well, if Tim Burton was making it, let's be real. If Tim Burton was making it, everybody would be a Sith, and they would all live on a planet called the Planet of the Stripes.
Kevin Smith. Jeff is saying Kevin Smith. Ooh. Kevin Smith, you know what? I think he's completely different now. But one thing that... And I love Kevin Smith. And actually, where's my book? Remember my book was my stand? Remember it was my tripod for a while? I love Kevin Smith. I saw him live with Brock. And my English professor in college gave me Clerks on DVD because his girlfriend hated it. And I did my thesis on Banky versus Brody. That is not, it's not a lie. I passed the class. But he actually kind of chickened out on Green Hornet, if you remember that. And I'm like, But now he does the Supergirl stuff, so maybe. But I don't think he would do it, but that would be kind of cool. I'm trying to think of movies, Andrew. You know what I watch more than I do. I'm looking over right now. It's a bag. Hold on. It's just a bag of Christmas DVDs. Who directed
what about
Arthur Christmas?
I know. Yeah, whoever directed
Sarah Smith is directing the next Star Wars. What if they announced Sarah Smith? Like how?
Okay, this one's kind of on the nose. But what about Joe and Anthony Russo? Would you be down for that?
I think so. I think because they like Star Wars and they appreciate it, and they know how to handle the big blockbuster stuff, and they prove that they can work with Kevin Feige. I don't want them to do it because they're the Russo brothers, though. I want them to do it because they want to do it. Yes. That's how I feel.
And also because they're not afraid to make a 3-hour movie.
Gleek Play's got to go. Bye, Gleek. Thanks for sticking around. We'll talk to you later. Yeah, no, but I don't.
Bye, Gleek Play.
But it didn't bother Marvel either. I don't. Jeez, Jeff, you had to put us on the spot with that one.
This is a great question.
It's so good. The thing is, they're announcing later on this month. So who could they announce later? And I don't want. See, the thing is if it's Patty Jenkins, it'll be one of these things where it's like, well, after she's done press for Wonder Woman, when does Wonder Woman come out, in June or December?
Comes out in June.
Yeah, so that's
she just got
so she won't start working on it for
post and press and stuff.
Yeah, so she won't start working on it for 6 months though, and that's just, to me, that's why are you announcing it? I don't want them to announce anything until they are like in development on it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying they have a finished script or anything. I'm just saying when they announce Kevin Smith, who's doing episode 909, because that's the next one they're doing. When they announce Kevin Smith doing the next Star Wars movie, I want it to be like he's there and he's working on the script with screenwriter X. I feel like,
imagine they literally, like, you joke, but they literally have. He comes out and he's like, yeah, I'm doing episode 909, and everybody looks at each other and he's like, trust me, Disney mapped it all out.
There should be a huge map. I'm trying to think of more awesome directors that kick butt. And you know what? You got to look at television too, right? Like, who's directing these top tier stuff on television? I know there's a movie that I watched recently that I'm trying to think of, like a small movie, but I can't right now. I'm gonna have to come back to that. I hate that, but I know that there's a movie that I watched. I'm like, I really love that movie, and nobody saw it. Catherine Bigelow would be cool. She does some good stuff, but I don't know if she could work in the Star Wars universe, like the Tarantino thing. You know, it's like, I don't know. Like, Tarantino's great and all, but I don't know if. And he even said himself, you know, he's not a Star Wars guy; he's a Star Trek guy. Ryan Coogler would be awesome. And you know what?
Anything Ryan Coogler touches.
Have you seen Fruitvale Station?
Not yet.
Oh my God, that is dude. It's. Do you know who should be in Star Wars? Octavia Spencer.
Octavia Spencer?
She should just be in every Star Wars movie.
Oh, she should be in it. I thought you were saying she should direct it. I was like, I didn't know she did that too.
Well, she probably can. She's super talented.
Probably. But yeah, she should be in every one of them. By the way, guaranteed is going to be in that movie. They'd be stupid not to put her in that movie.
Who? Your
Maz Kanata.
Oh, no. How old is Maz? 9? 400? 200? How old is Maz Kanata?
She's about 1,000. She's had the bar for about 1,000 years.
Okay, so she could be in it. I still think she was a missed opportunity in not being in Solo. Now my internet is deciding to go kerplooey on us. What is the High Republic? Blanca, it's the period of time 400 years before the Skywalker saga. So there's the universe, the galaxy is doing all right. Basically.
The rumored unit of time, because that's not, like, if you look up in Wikipedia, like, it's not even there. Like, this term High Republic is brand new. We don't even know if it's real, but it hasn't anything yet. So you haven't missed out on anything. It's literally just 2 days of speculation right now. That's it.
I think it's cool that see, I wanted them to go forward. You know what I want out of the next movie, but I think, look, they're going into a time frame where it's all stuff that they could create new, but then again, they're talking about this baby Yoda, Brock. Andrew. It's like I've had this speech prepared. Well, Brock, they have Yoda. They can do like younger, kick-ass Yoda, and I hope they don't milk Yoda too badly, because they got baby Yoda. The prequels were milking Yoda. Now you're gonna go back to Yoda. Just use Yoda sparingly.
Yeah.
Can you see the live chat?
The only thing that makes me... No, I'm not on the live chat right now.
Well, Rural Farm Boy's asking for you, so.
Oh, sorry, Rural Farm Boy. Hold on, let me see if I can hop on there and see what's going on. But no, the only... Like, I don't want a whole bunch of Yoda on this thing either. The only thing that would make me excited to think of Yoda's presence is that his presence probably means Coruscant, which is very... makes Andrew happy a lot. So happy he can't talk properly. But that's where I want to be.
I'm with you on the Coruscant as well, especially after watching Attack of the Clones. I'm totally with you on that. But I'm hearing it's going to take a place in like the unknown regions, and I'm really maybe Yoda is this young Jedi who goes out with some other Jedi, and they go out and they meet like these dark Sith Sith, and the Sith. Here's an issue: is the Sith haven't been around for 1,000 years, and when we meet them in Phantom Menace.
That's right.
So how do they meet the Sith? And they're in the regions, and they could call.
Yeah,
if they do that, then they can say there's wiggle room, right? Because I really want to learn more about the Sith and the Rule of Two and CVP's return, and they could really, really expand on that with these new movies. I think personally.
Oh yeah, yeah. You could answer things and hint at things in these old movies and have it just be old movies in these new movies of Old Republic, and have it be something where it's like, well, it's not going to spell it out, but there's going to be a through line, and if you're eagle-eyed, you follow that through line. And my eagle eye just saw a super chat from Heidi Feder. I'm going to read it because I haven't read a super chat yet.
Your super chat came in before mine.
Here we go.
Yeah, well, you're finally on the chat. You told me earlier you didn't even want to acknowledge these people. We got another super chat. All right, you read both of them.
I was like, screw the chat. All right, okay, Heidi first here. Will Darth Plagueis be in the High Republic movies? That's a good question, Heidi. That all depends on what species they want to make Plagueis, if he's still going to be immune or not. Because if the species can live past 400 years, then maybe.
Gonna try to get Andrew back on. Sorry about that. The internet in the woods once again crap out, because that's how it rolls over here, getting Andrew back on. Hopefully you guys are still sticking around in the live chat. Andrew, you there? You're back. I'm back. I had to run downstairs. I did this thing called rebooting the router. All right, so we got Plagueis. We have 2 super chats going. Internet dead. I didn't even hang up that time. All right, we're back on. Andrew's not there, obviously. See if anyone is.